Hello and welcome to another Warcraft 3 audio commentary. Today we're going to be watching Game 1 between Yumiko and Nicker for a cup that was in Chinese letters and I couldn't quite read it, but according to Google Translate, the cup name is Jingdong Cup. So I don't know if that's how I'm actually supposed to pronounce that. It's probably not, but I will put the actual Chinese name in the description below. So if you do read Chinese, you can get a good laugh out of how silly I am, I guess. I don't know. Jingdong Cup, right? Okay, let's introduce our players. Over here on Terranus stand in the lower right part of the map, we have Nicker spawning in as the Blue Night Elf. As you can see, no observers in the game, so it's going to be one of those games from the player perspective with the fog of war off, which means we got these annoying little things from players spamming in the beginning of the game. Not a lot we can do about that, I apologize. So there we go, that is Nicker. This is kind of late in the game. We're at 145 right now, so it's definitely going to be a Tavern Hero coming in from Nicker. And over here for Yumiko, we can see that we have an Archmage coming up. It looks like a fairly standard build so far from Yumiko. And let's see, we've got a little wisp right here, of course, at the tavern, getting ready to pick up that hero, and it's going to be, or maybe he's just going to go on and scout and let this wisp pick up this hero. Looks like that's what's going to happen, as we can see a scout footman going over towards Nicker's base right there. We can see there is, in fact, going to be an Archmage picked up. He's going to go ahead and try to creep out the Goblin Laboratory. It's not going to be too much of an issue for him, I do not imagine. Altar is done, and here comes the Tavern Hero. It's going to be a Dark Ranger, which is a wonderful hero to have. And it looks like he's actually going to play very aggressive with it and probably try to pick off some low HP units that come from the end of this creep, which is pretty good. He could probably do that, especially if he has Dark Arrow, which is what I would expect to see coming out of that. It's going to be a Dark Arrow and start picking up Skeleton Warriors straight from his army, which would be wonderful. He actually might be able to get the experience right there for that Water Elemental. I think he went for it. Did he get it? No, it's going to get denied or taken down by creeps, it looks. That's unfortunate for him. As we can see now, we do have the militia running back towards the base, and there you go. Their guys are going to be just fine. We have a wisp right here. It's going to get into one of those little spots it looks like that the footman can't get to. Oh, it can actually get to, and that wisp, however, can pop right back out and be just fine. Over here, we can see the continued creep for Yumiko as he just has to chase down these apprentice wizards. Pretty simple creeps. Got two guys over here building a farm. You always want to build a farm by the laboratory. It's good to have that just because it allows you to use that throughout the game intermittently. For example, you can use the reveal from that later on if you find that you want to unhide like an archer or something while you're killing it, and you don't have a dust handy, so that'll be pretty handy right there. Pretty useful, and I don't think this Dark Ranger has actually been able to do a whole lot, but he has slowed down the creep for Yumiko, which is, you know, that's a goal in and of itself, and I imagine that's probably partly what he was going for when he wanted to play that aggressive. This is a map that if you let a human just go creep on it, they can get pretty quick level 3, and sometimes that's not something that you really want to be dealing with. It just depends on their creep pattern as to whether or not your early game aggression is going to be doing a whole lot. If say Yumiko had decided to creep this as his first camp, that early game aggression would have been quite deadly, but that's not really a common thing to do any longer. And how we can see that we have a bunch of militia, they're trying to come out, but they really are needed over here for this creep, so it looks like that's going to be the strategy that Nicker is employing this game, is mainly going to be to delay, and here comes a wisp. He's going to come in here, and there you go, takes down a water elemental. Now, the other thing that it does, kind of as a side effect with that detonate, was to spell some of that slow, but which kind of helps Yumiko, but really not that great because you're going to get slowed again. There's a lot of guys who can cast slow right there, and also he really wanted that to tank, and as you can see, he's going to lose some serious peasants right here, and those guys are going to turn into little skeleton warriors, although that Dark Ranger is taking quite a bit of damage. We'll see some more guys going down. However, this Dark Ranger is forced out of the fight at about 60 HP. We do have a hidden archer right there. We're going to go ahead and switch over to Nicker's view just to see it. It's a little bit easier, and there is the reveal coming in from that Goblin Laboratory. Using the farm, he's actually not going to get the archer, it looks like. However, how unfortunate for him, but he is very close now to level 3, but he didn't get it. Normally, you get level 3 from that creep. However, it looks like maybe an archer did go down, in fact, to give him level 3 as a nice little thing. We do have a little lesser Dark Minion coming in, trying to take down this peasant. It does have a couple of footmen protecting it, so it looks like it's going to be able to live and run away just fine and get back home. Over here on this side of the map, back to Nicker's base, we can see that Dark Ranger running here at 25 HP. He took quite a bit of damage, came very close, but now he's all the way full healed by Moonwells, as you can see, and an Ancient of Wonders is going down very close to tier 2, and we're going to see an Ancient of War creep right here on this shop, which is a pretty fantastic thing to do. It's really wonderful. It gives you a lot of quick experience, and that's going to allow him to really help catch up. At level 2 now on his Dark Ranger, he's still behind, as you can see over here, for Yumiko with level 3 on his Archmage, and in fact, it looks like he's going to go for the expansion. He does have the 5 militia right here, and actually, it's really a good thing that he's doing this, because as you can see, he's going to be able to start building this expansion and really come straight over into a Creepjack. that Yumiko, that the elf player here is doing. However, it's not really going to be a creep check any longer. Yumiko took slightly too long, but because it's going to be level 2 versus level 3, this fight really should go pretty handily for Yumiko, and in fact, Nicker does not want to take the fight whatsoever. He is just going to run straight over here, it looks like, to this expansion. And in fact, he has a panda, so he knew this was going on the whole time. He's picking up his neutral hero and tavern hero, 2 tavern heroes, in fact, this game, which is always interesting. It definitely allows you to play very aggressively when you have that. And we're seeing him really make the most out of that. And he's just not going to let this expansion go up whatsoever. And in fact, it's about to go down. It's about to be canceled. As you can see, he's got some hits going on onto the town hall. He doesn't really want to kill these peasants off with his archers. He really wants to do that with the Dark Ranger, and since they're all very low, he can convert them into wonderful little skeletons, and that's what he's going to do. In fact, that was a wonderful breath of fire. I'm going to go ahead and allow him to pick up another skeleton, and he's going to get one more, and he's going to TP out of there just like that with that Dark Ranger as he gets low on life and into a fairly sticky situation. But we do have more militia coming in here. Yumiko was already prepared for that when he saw that the elf was just beelining over here. He immediately sent some militia down there, so those guys are ready to reinforce and start rebuilding that expansion. And in fact, it's only a well, it's a good question. Does the elf player here actually know that that's what happened, and is he going to go back over here to try to do something to stop this again? It is a delicate timing that you have to hit if you actually want to continually deny an expansion, but really you don't have to do that if you've done as much damage as we saw the Night Elf player already do. So he's not in a bad situation just to creep up a little bit, maybe take his own expansion. And also, one thing we're going to know, he's making Hippo Riders. Hippo Riders is not a normal, it's not a normal play, it's not really a normal strategy, although it does have some very, very nice things. For example, it's really good at hero focus against heroes such as the Archmage, because you can group all of those guys up. They do as much damage as an archer, maybe a little bit more, because they're flying dudes. They have a ton of life, so they're really hard to kill, and they can always dismount in case you do have like super anti-air stuff going on. So they're kind of difficult to deal with in certain situations. Of course, there are a lot of counters to them. For example, flying machines aren't the worst counter to them. Of course, you know, some flying machines and knights really deal with it quite fantastically. But it's really something that comes down to the matter of timing. And of course, with this Dark Ranger, he's going to have a ground army no matter what happens because of these little skeleton dudes. So this is a pretty good idea. I think I like the synergy that I'm seeing right now coming in from Nicker. And he's going to go ahead and staff back his panda. That's level 1. And is he going to do something? He's going to pick up a clarity at that shop and kind of run away. So he knows this is going on. The other thing that Hippogriff Riders are pretty good at doing is harassing expansions. They can kind of sit right here and just kind of beeline or do lots of damage, rain hell down onto these peasants, which is something that we might see coming in as one of his big things. Only problem is it does take a while to get those Hippogriff archers, or the actual Hippogriffs themselves, out, but we do have at least 4 out, it looks like right now. He's going to get a couple more, and so that's enough to pretty much do some damage. As you can see, it's 16 to 18, same amount of damage really, 600 range on them, so it's 100 less than these archers, which I think probably have the upgraded range right there. And here we can see water elementals are pretty good against them, so he doesn't really want to be taking fights just like that. He's going to go ahead and pick up another archer, so he wants to try to keep those archers alive. Archers are cheap enough to replace the Hippogriff Riders themselves, though you definitely don't want to be losing. Another thing is, if you're going to lose one of these guys, it's always good to at least dismount them as a worst case thing, and that way, you know, you only lose 1 unit instead of 2. So it's got a fairly long dismount cooldown though, so only do that if you absolutely have to, and really that's about that. Now we're going to see a Goblin Shredder that's been picked up for Yumiko right up here, and that's going to allow him to start getting some of that wood he desperately needs. As you can see, he's spent quite a bit of wood so far on his expansion. He's getting gold back for it, but he's not really getting wood, so the Goblin Shredder definitely going to help him equalize that. And if we can see, I keep forgetting that we're not in observer mode, we can see that he's only got 200 wood, and he doesn't really have a whole lot of guys on wood. He's got a grand total, I think, 5 peasants who are mining wood. When those guys, 2 of those guys are building right now, 3 of them, in fact. So yeah, but he's going to do just fine with that shredder, no problem whatsoever. Of course, he's picked up a mud golem, so that's going to be an interesting thing. And might try to go for one of the heroes over here. You could slow one of the Hippogriff Riders, that would work fairly well, but I'm not sure that would do a whole lot because those guys can fly over trees. So I think it looks more like we're going to see maybe some kind of hero focus potentially going on right now. Over here we can see there's a Druid of the Talon now, so that's going to make, it's going to definitely be a hero focus strategy. Get the Talon to debuff the armor of the Archmage, and you can see he starts taking a lot of damage from those Hippogriff Riders all of a sudden, and we're going to see Yumiko doing a good job. A staff is going to go off onto one of those Hippogriff Riders and keep him alive just before he dies. Will we see anything going down right now? He's going to try to keep microing away from these water elementals. This this one, the one that's closest, is about to wear out. And down here at this actual expansion, we can see that the good old Archmage is really going to be just fine after that potion and just healing up a little bit. Will we see one of these Druids of the Talon go down? Yes, we will, because of the slow on the Mud Golem. A really well done timing to use that. It's awesome to have that, especially because it's basically a caster. Up here now we can actually see these Hippogriff Riders. They have moved to the top base. Unfortunately, Yumiko has mismicroed his peasants right here and tried to repair the wrong tower. Will he actually be able to lose this tower now, or can he keep it? That was a bit of a mistake with that peasant move, and in fact he is now going to lose a tower, and there's really nothing here at all whatsoever in this base to stop those Hippogriff Riders from doing some really nasty harass. So we're going to see the player Yumiko come up there and TP, but here is Nicker with the rest of his army. He's just going to come down to this base perhaps and try to do something and move those Hippogriff Riders out of the way now that there's a TP going off to move him up this position. So it's really nice map control that we're seeing coming in from the Night Elf player, just because he's got that ability to move and harass multiple locations. Like I said, it was a big mistake for Yumiko to not go ahead and repair that one tower, but also he needs more towers up here, and he's getting those right now, as well as riflemen, and that'll help him actually defend multiple points in this game. So it's definitely been an interesting game so far, and we're gonna have to see how the Night Elf player decides to handle this. Does he follow up this with a very powerful tech, or does he go for an expansion? And I don't know, but he does have a Hippogriff Rider sitting here at 60 health, so he's gonna have to do something. It looks like it's gonna be the expansion, in fact, and I think that might be a good call, because he's gonna have a lot of map control in this game, and when you have map control, you can use map control by expanding. And on a map like this, it's fairly small, so keeping map control is not easy, but he could kill both of these towers. You know, the thing is that Hippogriff Riders are very similar to Gargoyles and the way they harass, except they're a little bit better at actually at harassing when there's towers up, because Gargoyles have a fairly short range, but these guys have a fairly long range. As you can see, it's 600 range, so it's a little bit easier to micro them out of tower range. It's a little bit easier to harass towers when out of tower range, and it's all around just a little bit easier, but they kind of serve the same basic purpose there. They're not quite as good in a fight, in all honesty. Hippogriff Riders are okay in a fight, but they're not quite as good, I don't think, just because they have the same kind of idea. They don't really do well against air at all, but they do a great job of focusing stuff down. As you can see, a Mud Golem about to get focused down. It doesn't actually get focused down, and a slow goes off from it. It's a bit of a misplay from Nicker, because he could have taken that Golem down, but in fact, we're going to see this fight. It looks like it's going really well in the Night Elf favor. Will we see that Night Elf, or the Hippogriff Rider, goes down? It does indeed, and pretty much the rest of the human army trying to just stay away from those guys, and in fact, they're kind of both trying to keep those things away from each other, so it's kind of like a nice, both players working on splitting those units together. It's just nice. Here we can see 3 illusions coming out for the Archmage. I'm not sure what the point of that is. Maybe just to cause a little bit of confusion, but it probably won't do that. More realistically, it's probably just to try to do some kind of blocking and stuff in this fight. Here we can see the Dark Ranger has taken a lot of damage, and he is being chased down. Does he pick up a healing scroll? He does. Does he use it? He does use it, and that's a great idea to go ahead and do that, trying to keep these Hippogriff Riders alive as long as possible, and he's going to be able to do that without any issue. And now he's just going to keep on trying to kill these militia, take them down, and these militia aren't super important for Yumiko, because he does have the Shredder, and these guys are pretty much all for wood, so it's really going to be building peasants that are going down right now. So that's not a big loss for Yumiko, even though there was a lot of units that died, and it's going to be experience that's getting fed over to the Night Elf, and that's going to be the bigger issue, I think. Although we do see Yumiko getting fairly close to level 6 on his Archmage, but it's starting to take a lot of damage. He does have that potion of lesser invulnerability, so if there is a Breath of Fire or something, which there's enough mana for it, he could definitely dodge that, and he's going to have to definitely dodge it if it comes out. He needs to play this really well. It looks like he's actually been able to walk right on out of range, and in fact, he's going to have to kite that human army, or that Night Elf army, in fact, all the way down to his expansion, where I believe he has a shop. Indeed he does, and he can actually go ahead and try to start healing things up. But ideally, he really wants to block a little bit with this here Water Elemental. He's going to do that a fantastic job, and maybe even take down a Hippogriff Rider with that if he can. It's a little too slow, though. Unfortunately, the big problem that Yumiko is going to face down here is trying to heal up. He's going to get all of these units back into here, but they're going to be sitting underneath Tower Fire. However, again, there's a lot of little skeletons that can tank those, and the range on the Hippogriff Riders are pretty good, so it just depends on how Nicker wants to play this, and it looks like he is going to just play this by running, but I don't know what he did. I think I'm not sure what happened, actually, back here. No idea. But this Dark Ranger could be running to his death. There is a Mountain King right here that could bolt him. I would say it seems unlikely, but there's not a staff on him. If he gets enough damage, it seems unlikely. It really does. In fact, he does pass that staff and TPs him right on out. Not quite enough damage from a level 1 Mountain King. Had it been level 3, then he had a chance, but not with level 1. Just not quite enough damage to be able to put out. Over here we can see that the human player going to be able to pick up that little Tome of Strength that had been sitting there for a little while. I believe that was because the Night Elf player got creepjacked there, and there was chaos going on and no one really noticed it. The Dark Ranger, I'm going to reposition. The Dark Ranger here, in the middle of the map, he's been able to heal up Adam Moonwell and use a Clarity, so he's at full mana right now. And he's going to go ahead and toss over a Staff of Teleportation, it looks like. Maybe it was even a Staff of Preservation onto the Panda. We're also seeing Dryads come out, so that means we are going to see some Ancient of Lores, at least one. I see one, two, in fact, and a Tree of Eternity tech. So, the Elf player is definitely teching up right now. He's looking towards the late game where he's going to lose a Dryad right there, but he does know now that there's an army coming down for his expansion, and he's going to take down a Rifleman and pick up level 5 on the Dark Ranger. And is he going to go down here and defend? He doesn't need to, because the human player knows that his backup line, basically, which is what here, it'd be like a line that backs up his army while he tries to take down that expansion, is being intercepted, and he's going to have to come up here and try to do something about that. While he can't really do too much. In fact, the Night Elf player is going to pick up that Ogre Mauler, which is going to be really good against all of these units right here. The Water Elemental's not too great, in fact, against an Ogre Mauler. Good against most things, but Ogre Mauler is kind of like an Abomination type of replacement. It's just a neutral, I consider it like an Abomination Knight, etc. So it's a pretty good unit against all of these, the Riflemen and the Casters. It's just a nice tanky unit, and it's just an early game replacement for bears before it can get bears, or at least an instant replacement, right? Whatever you're gonna call it. But here we can see the Master Claw training coming out for the elf player. He's got this very low Dryad right here. It's sitting on 8 HP. At some point, he's probably gonna want to heal that. He's probably looking to get bears out and start casting some rejuvenations pretty soon. So I like the way that he's gonna send this. Because I was gonna be like, he's about to send it to his death, and I love that. But in fact, he's gonna correct that mistake, and that's not gonna happen. And we can see that the Panda was staffed on back, whether it used the Staff of Teleportation or the Staff of Preservation. I can't really tell, because unfortunately, replays don't do a great job of preserving cooldown information, or at least presenting it. Over here, we're going to see now that this is kind of mutating into the more standard, I would say, human versus elf style, where the human will build some towers up and then kind of mount an assault from those tower defended position, which is really cool, and I always enjoy watching that. However, I do think that the elf player's got a pretty good army to deal with that. He's got that high-level Panda. He's got a lot of these little tanky dudes that are going to be able to reinforce his army as the fight goes on, and these long fights are going to be great for that. And, of course, there are going to be these priests that will probably get Dispel at some point, or, in fact, we might have even already... No, because this is initiate, so they don't have it. Yeah, so, look, it says spells, heal, that's all they have. I didn't know it did that, actually. That's cool. Anyway, yeah, so in this fight, we can see that all those towers have been able to go down because of these Hippogriff Riders in the back just deciding to focus on them, which is another great use for them. This Mountain King's a lot of trouble. He's going to pop a Mountain Stormbolt, onto that Panda Brewmaster and immediately pop a Potion of Lesser Invulnerability. Seeing a lot of these units go down. Yumiko is actually in a lot of trouble right now, and he's going to have to find some other way to go ahead and confront this Night Elf army, because it is just really countering the play style that Yumiko wants to play right now. It's absolutely doing a fantastic job of just really defeating every tenet of it. So he needs to do something. I think he really can't afford to take another expansion right now, but he's going to need to fairly soon. As we can see, this gold mine right here has got less than 3,000 gold in it. This one, however, actually has less, so I guess he spent a lot more time, dealing with harass over here. Which is true. So Yumiko is definitely an interesting spot. The later this game goes, I will tell you this, the one thing that I would like to see at some point is if Yumiko is able to get higher level heroes, and really he's already got what he needs, but he could start doing mass teleport, and I'm assuming he has it right now, but he might not. I think he might have went with the aura. I was gonna try to find out, but he loaded it up in a Zeppelin. So we'll see right now. In fact, he did get Mass Teleport, so we're definitely going to see that. We're going to see the abuse of Mass Teleport at some point, most likely. This is a little bit of a risky situation whenever you want to use a Zeppelin against someone who you know has hippogriffs, but... or at least when you're doing that over like places that you would lose everything if it died. But it's not too much of a risk in that situation, because there's the ability, right here, to just go ahead and unland stuff. Now, it's going to be really cool, because in the early game, we basically saw the Night Elf player taking map control and really abusing the mobility that he had from that. And it looks like in the late game we're going to see Yumiko going ahead and abusing the mobility he gets from, well, a Zeppelin apparently, as well as in fact probably Mass Teleport. Mass Teleport, super powerful, super good, and I'm curious to see what he's doing here. He does have a Hippogriff. I think he's trying to bait the Hippogriff to its death, maybe? You can see how much damage that the Zeppelin does. It does so much damage. In fact, almost was able to take that Zeppelin, or the Hippogriff, down. He needs to kill that if he really wants to be able to keep using the Zeppelin abuse, but it looks like that's not going to happen, and in fact, he's going to hide maybe behind the creeps. No, he's actually going to fight the creeps, and here comes a creep jack from that. Is he going to immediately bolt the Hippogriff? Great call, but that's going to get staffed right on out, so that's going to be able to do just fantastic, and he's going to uproot stuff right into the Zeppelin. He does have to be really careful because there is still a Hippogriff right here, as well as a Panda. Is that going to go down? Oh, he's going to be able to, just barely in the nick of time, actually get everything out of that guy. Very much a close call right there, without a doubt. That's going to go down. In fact, the gold mine goes down, and he's going to uproot his Tree of Eternity to try to help fight, but the Mass Teleport goes on, and the entire human army bookmarks it. Gets right on out. So there you go. We still have 2 gold mines that are not crypt out on this map that are up for grabs. However, this one is kind of humans. This one is kind of the Night Elves. So we'll see if it ends up being split that evenly. With the mobility that the human has, I would say I would be surprised for that to happen. Because, you know, if the Night Elf tries to take this one, it's going to be really difficult to defend against this one. And, you know, harass down here, harass here, and harass here, because it's 3 locations that the human can quickly get to just by mass teleporting around. And it's going to be very expensive for the Night Elf to move around and actually do that. So we'll see, and in fact, we're already seeing that happen. The mobility, the setup for the mobility. We have an invisible priest right here. The human can just mass teleport to that. Another thing he could do is, once this goes down, he could always just go ahead and militia up and just kind of do like this crazy mass militia TP, which we occasionally see. It's actually pretty powerful, but I'm not sure this is the army that you really want to do that against, unless you're pretty sure that you're going to be able to get some actual use out of those and then TP out without having to engage, because these little dudes would get turned into skeletons very quickly, or at least die to the breath of haze fire. So we'll see. Gonna see the mass teleport going on out. Unfortunately, this one rifleman did miss it, and level 6 gets picked up by the Dark Ranger here. TP kind of immediately knows that is what happened. He's gonna have to go and try to. Oh, here it is. It's over here under this thing. It was TPing over to the Tree of Eternity that he's moving across the map. That was actually getting kind of messed up right there. So that happened. We're going to see mortars coming in. It's definitely going to be the mortar mass TP play. That is very difficult to deal with, and I don't know. I really actually don't have a clue as to how on earth the elf player is going to try to deal with that. Ideally, I guess he could take like a fight. If he could take a fight, I think the elf player would be in good shape. I think he would win the fight, but it's going to be difficult to actually force an engagement against someone who can send invisible units across the map and then actually just teleport to it with mortars, and then use those mortars to actually go ahead and quickly take down your buildings, because humans do have masonry. It may be only level 1, but it is enough to actually make the buildings pretty tanky, as we can see, especially against dryads who do basically no damage because they're doing piercing damage, and it's just not that much damage to buildings. This is a reasonably well defendable position, but that's a lot of bears, I gotta say, so maybe this is what he needs, but again, mortars in the back, it's pretty defensible, and in fact, it looks like he's gonna have to run away. In fact, we're seeing some Spellbreakers coming out to try to take a fight if it has to come to that, and in fact, Spellbreakers are gonna be what he would need to deal with this type of an army, when you have this many bears, because Spellbreakers are pretty good. They actually drain all the mana from the bears, they do a lot of extra damage while they're draining the mana, and then after that, they can basically still be used as guys who are invulnerable to magic, so you can't really hit them with the Dark Arrow, you can't really hit them with the Breath of Fire, you can't hit them with the Haze, so they're really a good unit all around, and here we're going to see this happen right now. Will there be a TP coming back to try to save this? There are a lot of mortar teams right here. In fact, there's a TP. Does it go ahead and try to TP out? It's going to be a Staff of Teleportation from the Dark Ranger. It's not even a full-on TP, but that did get a full-on TP to go. However, this is not a great situation for the Elf still, because now he has to find a way to deal with this fight without his Dark Ranger. However, this Archmage is taking a lot of punishment right now, and if this is a fight that Yumiko actually manages to win, which it looks like he could, especially with that wonderful thunderclap that we saw right there. However, that Archmage is getting really low, and if that Panda even looks at him so much with the Breath of Fire, he's going to kill him. However, it looks like he's trying to kill the Mountain King instead right now, but this is a lot of damage going off onto this Elf army, and he's giving a lot of XP on over to this human player, as you can see. But here comes the Night Elf player finally into the fight. He does go ahead and charm a Spellbreaker. The Mountain King goes down, and here comes the Paladin entering into the fight, trying to go ahead and heal up the Archmage. I think that was a Holy Light originally intended for the Mountain King, but it just died too quickly. Panda ultimate gonna go off, which is great. We have 2 level 6 heroes. Then for the elf player, is this gonna be enough? Does the elf player win the game? I don't know. I don't think he's got enough of an army right now to actually push into this base, although he definitely was able to win that fight. And here's the next question is, can he actually defend his expansion now? That's another good question. And I don't know. We do see that the Shredder right here from Yumiko is moving out to get to be a mass TP target. There is a scout on that, so the elf player is going to try to move up to that and try to do some defense up here. However, that could all be a ruse. There could be an invisible unit, and frankly, the human could just walk over here, and then when the elf player comes down here to defend it, mass TP up to the Shredder. However, it looks like he's going to go straight for this TP. Works pretty well. There are a couple units up here, but there's not really enough to do anything. We do see a couple of fairy dragons out. Mana Flare is pretty good against casters, but look at this. There's a great spread up of this army. It's going to be very difficult to actually do anything to that, and the Panda's still not quite there, and really all he has to do is take this Tree of Eternity down and TP out, and he'll be in a pretty good shape. And that's going to be the deciding thing that happens right now. I think he could maybe even actually win this fight. As you can see, there's just not really that many elf units here, and the Panda just really low on mana, so not really being able to do a whole lot himself either. Does get that final Breath of Fire off. He could potentially get another one with a bit of regeneration, but as you can see, he's not really getting a lot of stuff going on well for him. We're gonna see if this actually does anything. The Shredder will go down, and GG gets called by Yumiko. What? Wait. Okay, instant replay time. Let's see what just happened there. I might have missed a good game. I don't know what happened, but I think Yumiko said GG. So I don't think Yumiko should have said GG unless he had won the game and his opponent said GG, but I didn't see that because the game ended so abruptly. So we're gonna watch this again. Look at this fight, yay! Okay, so there's inner fire going on. I mean, right, isn't there? I think there's inner fire. Yeah, there's inner fire going on. There is a ton of damage going on. I mean, this is really the only gold mine. There's a gold mine down here with 6k left in it, and this gold mine has 2k left in it. But this gold mine is gonna die right here, and we have high-level heroes for Yumiko. I mean, and he's doing just fine. He's sitting at 60 food versus 70 food, but I mean, that's not really that bad. This gold mine goes down. He could get out if he wanted to right now, couldn't he? He could easily get out of this fight. I mean, I guess maybe not for a while, but he could walk away at this point. And the game's getting ready to end, so we're gonna pause as soon as we see the GG. It's paused. Okay, all right. Okay, I guess I can see it. It's a good army here, and he didn't want to try to keep playing the lane game. I guess that's what happened. So there you go. If you were wondering, like I was, what happened? I guess he decided that he had lost because I think he could have still won. He still had mortar teams up. He still had a reasonable army. I mean, I know it was a small army, but he still had 2k gold left. I know that this has more gold, but I mean, I've seen human players come back from worse situations. Maybe he was just so afraid of these high-level heroes and the fairy. Must have been something like that. I'm not going to question it. Yumiko's a really good player. He probably knows when he loses, but I do happen to say I think that might have been premature. But anyway, so that's game one. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you. Actually, I'm going to, hold on. We're going to look at the scoreboards first. We're going to look at the scoreboards first. So, yeah, that was an interesting ending. But you know what? Nicker did really well. He played awesome, and he deserved the win, in my opinion. So, congratulations to that guy. This is game one for, like I said, the Jingdong series. So we'll go into game two probably tomorrow. I can't really upload more than one game a day on this connection. So, and I don't know, maybe, but yeah, we'll see about tomorrow. So thanks for watching, like I said, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.